Hello and welcome back to 1874. It's time for a match preview show as Villa head to Brentford tomorrow, which is Saturday, 3 o'clock kickoff. I'm your host, Dan Bardell, joined by Sky Sports News' David Reed to preview said game. And this show is sponsored by Match Bingo. Head to 1874.io/Match Bingo and buy yourself some bingo cards ahead of the game tomorrow. You can buy 4, get 1 free. They're as little as £2 and you can win between £25 and £250 just by buying bingo cards around the Brentford and the Aston Villa game. So if you fancy doing that, fancy trying to win a little bit of money and not putting too much on, then go and do that. That helps us as a channel. Dave Reed in Adidas, how are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. We're live. We're doing a live preview. We didn't go live last week, and there's already quite a lot of people in the comments. Good to have the pressure of the live environment. I see you were live. You were live with Martin O'Neill earlier on in the week in Sky Sports News. Did you have a pop at him for leaving Villa in the lurch not a few seasons ago, about over a decade ago?
I think he's had enough pops at him about that, to be honest with you. I think he's gone on record saying it's his biggest regret probably in his career leaving Villa at that point in particular. So no, I didn't. But what a guy! Great to meet him. Lovely bloke. Hopefully he's coming back as well.
Coming back, what, to Villa?
No, to
Sky Sports News. I mean, I think he's quite temperamental. If he didn't like it, he won't be back. That's just how he operates, Martin O'Neill. Good afternoon to Chris Swan, to Dub J, to LKA Mark Hayes. Chris Swan, you really say a lot in these, don't you, when you're on here? John Lukeman, George Blanchard, and Phil Evans, and Stephen Nito, if I'm saying that name right. You love that, don't you, from Mark Warren in the chat there.
It's not even Villa related. It's just an Adidas t-shirt.
Nassef, is involved in Adidas, isn't he? Villa or Adidas. Dave Reed on brand, pushing revenue. Dave Reed trying to solve PSR on his own. I'd like to help solve PSR at the moment with some of that new gear that came out yesterday, Dave. Very nice, wasn't it?
It looks very nice, yeah. Very nice.
To get myself down to the shop very, very soon. Right, let's preview the game then, Dave Reed. Unai Emery had his press conference earlier. It just kind of come out, all the details around his press conference on X. Not much going on that we didn't know already in terms of players missing. Ross Barkley, Garcia still missing with injury, and of course Ezri Konsa is suspended this weekend as well after getting sent off last week. How are you feeling ahead of this game?
Feeling positive to come out of the game against Newcastle with a point, and I think another positive performance this weekend. Given what happened to Brentford last week, I would be going into this game confident that Villa can get all 3 points and get their season up and running with the first victory. So that's how I'm feeling. I'm feeling positive.
Yeah, Brentford went to Forest and didn't look great collectively. Some bad goals conceded, I would say. Keith Andrews was very upset with some of the goals that they conceded. I did a pod with Jonathan Wilson on my other channel yesterday, and he said that Brentford seemed obsessed with set pieces, not like they'd worked on anything else other than set pieces, but they did concede from a breakdown of a set piece, didn't score from one. And I guess that's going to be the dialogue until they win their first game. People are going to kind of lean on the fact that Keith Andrews is a set piece coach and hasn't been a first team coach before.
Yeah, I mean, but he has other coaching experience. He wasn't just wasn't just a set piece coach in his whole career. So yeah, I mean, Brentford have relied, or not necessarily relied, but it's been one of their weapons that they've used, hasn't it? Set pieces since they were promoted back to the Premier League. A strong suit,
I would call it.
They were one of the leaders, weren't they? Really, in this almost set piece revolution, they've noticed that they can make gains, and when certainly coming up to the Premier League as a side who are going to be the underdogs in most of their games, it's a difference maker, set pieces. So they've honed that skill, whether it be corners, free kicks, and even the long throw, which seems to be coming back in to vogue at the moment as another, officially what they might call it is a restart or a set piece. And it's certainly one of Brentford's weapons that Villa will have to be wary of this weekend.
Yeah, I think Pinnock's got a good long throw, hasn't he? And he's returning to the fold along with Mikael Damsgaard, who I think was probably up there as one of their better players last season. So 2 big players returning to the Brentford lineup. As you'd have found out if you watched the Stato preview show, or the Stat Pack, as we're now calling it, Dave. I don't know whether you tuned in to said show. It's kind of turned a little bit now that Brentford were very much Villa's bogey team in the Championship. Now it's gone the other way, that Villa now seem to be Brentford's bogey team, which is nice.
Very nice. I haven't listened to that show, but I will go back and listen to it after this. I apologise. I apologise.
You
The
are a busy
interesting,
boy.
yeah, I mean, the interesting thing about Brentford and particularly today is that Keith Andrews has said that Johan Wissa could well play a part this weekend.
Oh,
Now,
I didn't see that. I don't like that news.
I would be stunned if he chucks him in from the start, given what's happened. That if some people watching and listening aren't aware, the backstory to this has been very similar to the Alexander Isak situation at Newcastle, really, where Johan Wissa has expressed his desire to leave. And from what we hear anyway, he's got his heart set on moving to Newcastle United. Missed a lot of their pre-season and has only recently come back into the group first team training. So he's been training with the group this week. And Keith Andrews has said today that he might well be involved. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean he is going to be involved. And I suspect if he is, it'll be from the substitutes bench to start with. But he is a dangerous player and someone who, if Brentford do have in their side, it elevates the quality of that 11 immediately if he's on the pitch. So he's one to watch out for. And as you mentioned, Mikael Damsgaard as well missed their opening game against Nottingham Forest due to the birth of his child, and now has been back in training this week, and he's going to be playing, I'm sure, from the start this weekend. I suspect it might be Fabio Carvalho that drops out of their side.
Yeah.
And Damsgaard is a real quality player. I think he's one that, when he came to England, struggled a little bit physically and to get up with the speed of the game. And it took him a little bit of time for Thomas Frank to ease him in and get the best out of him. But I think last season was probably his best season since he moved to England. And he'll be hoping to continue that this year.
Well, we've got a comment about Aston Villa team news. You're right. I think Damsgaard and I think they both come straight back into the Brentford team, don't they? They're both pivotal players. George Blanchard says, play Kamara in the back four, bring McGinn back into the centre mid and play both Malen and Gesson. Not sure all those things will happen, Dave, but shall we fire up the tactics board and see where we think Villa are at this weekend?
Yeah, I think before today, actually, I suspected that he might decide to play Boubacar Kamara at centre-back. He's done it before, obviously. He is obviously an adaptable player. It's not the position where you get the best out of Boubacar Kamara, but he is able to do a job there. And actually, today in his news conference, he wasn't directly asked about that, Unai Emery, but...
Poor from people like Tanswell. They've got to ask that question.
Well, he might have asked it in the embargoed section. We don't know. But certainly in the broadcast bit, he wasn't asked about that. He was forthcoming, really, by saying that Villa have 3 centre-backs that are available. Mings, Pau Torres and Lamar Bogard. And interestingly, I know the Villa website has not saying there was any bad intent or anything, but whether it was a translation issue with Unai Emery. Unai Emery said Mings, Pau Torres and Bogard, they will play. Now, whether that means from the start or from the bench, I know the Villa website said that have published that he said that we will play, but actually, I think from the video it says that they will play. But fans can make their own mind up. Sometimes it's difficult to get the translation. Sometimes the English isn't quite clear enough for the microphone, but that's more of an aside point. But I don't think he will play Kamara at centre back tomorrow.
Do you not? So that's going to throw me because I think he will.
I think it will probably be Mings and Torres,
no,
and Bogard as well. I suspect that's my guess, having heard what he said today.
You reckon?
And Bogard maybe a right back / one of those where it's almost a 3 at the back most of the time. That's what I suspect. I think Kamara will play in midfield.
Oh, you've thrown me, Dave, because I expected Kamara to kind of pick up where he left off against Newcastle, because then that keeps Onana in the team, and then you move Tielemans back, and you've got someone. I thought Malen might play.
And before
on the right,
today,
so you've thrown me there with that quote.
Yeah, I mean, before today, that's what I would have almost expected, that Kamara would play, because it keeps Onana in the team. And actually, what we saw against Newcastle was Villa looked better when Tielemans was a bit deeper to play that first pass. But maybe just that quote has thrown me a little bit. Maybe that's just what it is.
Okay, let us know in the chat live whether you think that quote means what Dave is saying. It's very difficult now. I almost wish I hadn't introduced the segment with the tactics board now, because I'm not sure what to do. So you're saying Cash comes out of the team, basically. Could Cash move forward?
Cash could move forward,
midfield?
Yeah. Cash could move forward.
Let's do that for now then. So you're saying Kamara and Tillemans together. Pau Torres, I imagine, would go there.
Yes.
Mings at right centre back. Bogard, I can't even find Bogard. There he is. Bogard at right back. Let's put Luca Dean in at left back and kind of build up in the back three. So then Mings does become more central and Bogard comes into there. I think that's what you're saying, Dave Reed, isn't it?
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, in possession, that is what I suspect it would look like.
I'm not sure what I think of that. I'm not sure. He always kind of says about not having the two left footers together. He always says about how important. Mind you, it's important to have a left footer on the left hand side. I suppose he doesn't really ever reference having a left footer on the right hand side. We did do it once with Longley and Powell, Fulham away with the season we finished 4th. I do remember that. I guess it makes sense in a lot of ways. I probably prefer Malen on the right to Cash, if I'm being honest, but I get the feeling that he'd keep Cash in the team and play him further forward. I feel like Cash played against Brentford there last season. Am I right in thinking that? Or he ended the game there? Because Dizazi played right back and had his best game in the Villa shirt that day, so I'm pretty sure Cash ended up playing further forward in that game, either from the start or finished the game there. This is difficult. You've really, really thrown me, Dave Reed. Is that what you think it'll be?
I mean, it's a possibility.
People are calling for your head
I know
in the chat based on what you said.
I mean, everyone's entitled to their opinion. That is just me going off a simple throwaway comment today from the manager, which I may have got wrong. So, and it may have been clarified afterwards. So, let's just go with that for the moment as a throwaway comment.
Okay, well, let's go back then to what I thought the team might be before Dave Reed came in and completely derailed the podcast with quotes. I was thinking it would be this that we're now seeing on the screen now. So Martinez obviously back in goal, Cash, Kamara, Mings, Luca Dean the back four, Anana and Tillemans in front of the back four, and then Malen on the right, Rogers central 10, and McGinn left 10 with Watkins up front. Before you derailed the podcast, that was what my thinking was that the team would be, Dave.
Yeah, that was until about an hour ago. That was my thought as well.
I like that team better, I must say.
Yeah.
That's it. Silence from Dave.
I do too. I do too. I think I think one thing from the Newcastle game is that again, Villa lacked width, and the manager was asked about it afterwards, and he was kind of like, yeah, maybe in some situations it did look like we lacked width, but I think in other situations he likes obviously to build centrally as well. So maybe he doesn't put too much emphasis on that, but I think having Donyell Malen out on that right hand side gives a little bit of natural width as well, rather than someone playing out there that doesn't or wants to play in those channels and play inside. I thought it was interesting that McGinn started on the right hand side against Newcastle as well. I know we discussed that one in the build up and whether he would start on the right and Rogers on the left, and we were kind of talking about the tail end of last season that Morgan Rogers was more playing on the right hand side and McGinn was on the left hand side. So I thought that was interesting that after that discussion, that it was decided that not after that discussion because we said it, but I'm talking after that discussion, Unai Emery obviously decided that McGinn was going to start on the right hand side, and I wonder whether that will continue, whether that's a position that he thinks. It's good that it's good that. That's totally thrown me. But
you're frozen on my screen. That's why I don't know whether you're frozen forever. I can hear you, but your picture is frozen. So you might want to leave and just pop back in, Dave.
To refresh.
Yeah, just refresh it. No one's actually complained about it, but on my screen, you are frozen. We've got David Stars in the comments saying Dave Reed picking the team is the podcasting equivalent of letting the set piece coach take the reins. So we should say. That wasn't Dave saying what he thinks the team should be. That was Dave reacting to something that Unai Emery has said. But it will remain to see whether that is correct. Emi Martinez back in goal, of course, Dave. There's absolutely no way he's not going to start. Even though Bezo did very well last week, it was probably my man of the match actually for Villa. There were some quotes in the week that came out from him where he kind of just said, "I'm here to support Emi Martinez. I know what my role is." Emi Martinez is going to be back in goal. And it'd be interesting to see him in goal again, won't it? Because we thought that we might not ever see him play for Villa again in the summer, and he's back in now. He's starting the season with us, which I think hopefully should mean he'll see out the season with us and nothing silly happens before the transfer window shuts. But it'll be interesting to see him back in between the sticks for Villa, won't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think what happened at the back end of last season was that a lot of people thought that he'd played his last game for Villa, and I think that was a feeling that was probably correct at the time. That there was a situation where Villa knew that they probably needed to make a good sale this summer, and Emi Martinez was one of those players that might end up on the chopping block. So to have him back in goal, one of the world's best, if not the world's best, and it can only be a positive. I think the other thing that you mentioned there was Bizot's performance last week against Newcastle, which was fantastic. I thought for a debut, commanding, and did everything that was asked of him. And I think he gave confidence to the back four that was in front of him.
He did.
Which at certain times you couldn't say that about Olsen. So for him to debut in that manner was fantastic, and he's only positive going forward because he might well get some games in the Europa League this season, Bizot, given what he's performed like so far. So yeah, only positives, and to have Emi Martinez, one of the best goalkeepers in the league, is going to be great.
Yeah. Before we all go off and investigate Unai Emery's comments, just talk about Ollie Watkins up against his old team. He's a bogey player for Brentford now as well. Obviously scored there a few times, scored at Villa Park a few times, again, as discussed in the stat pack yesterday. Probably get an iffy reception, as always. But after his 5 in 5 in pre-season, I expected him to start sharply last week, and it didn't really happen for probably reasons that weren't necessarily his fault. I'm expecting him to get off the mark this weekend, and I want him to get off the mark early this weekend.
Yeah, look, I think the whole team looked a bit rusty last week, and I think it spread throughout the side. I'm expecting a much sharper performance this weekend. I think the players will have been reminded of that. And I think Ollie Watkins didn't have a great deal to feed off, did he,
No.
for the whole game? So I had a bit of sympathy for him because he'd have been itching, especially given what happened in the home game against Newcastle last season, to get off to a really positive start. The fact that he's been in such fine form in pre-season as well. So yeah, I think he'll be coming away from that opening game disappointed, but after he's got quite a good scoring record, it feels like, against Brentford. So hopefully he's able to get off the mark early. I think that's key, actually.
I think it was 5 in 7 from what I remember of yesterday. I could be wrong there. I think it was 5 in 7.
I think the start to the game is really important because Brentford have got a good home record. They're good in front of their home crowd, and particularly on the opening day. So I think the start to the game is vital. If Villa are a bit sloppy and Brentford start well, the crowd will be behind them, especially, if they get an early goal. So if Villa can take control of the game early, not necessarily score early, but just quieten the crowd down and not give them anything to be shouting about, I think it's really, really important for the game.
Okay, Dave. Well, the show's been full of them again, but let's get your freezing cold / hot take ahead of this one, and please tell me it's not system or personnel.
No, it's not. No. Right. Okay. Freezing cold take is that Daniel Malen will score the winner.
That's nice. It's a nice one, Dave. Mine's going to be a bit more. There's a bit more to mine. I would say a lot's got to happen for mine to be right. Mine is that Gasson is going to come on, and within 10 minutes he'll be involved in a goal.
Oh, okay.
Instant impact. I'm not saying it'll be an assist or a goal, but he'll be involved in the move that scores a goal in the first 10 minutes. I mean, I'm aware actually that's very, very precise what I've said there. I've not given myself much chance there with what I've predicted, but I'm going to stick with my precise take. Dave, you stick with yours?
Yeah, I'm happy to stick. Yeah, happy to stick.
Okay, and finally, I'm not actually for score prediction, but Villa to win on Saturday, Dave.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen no. I know it's only one game, but Brentford were so poor last week. That's why I think they'll come out firing from the start, because they'll have been given a rocket by Keith Andrews. So they'll come out strong, and that's where Villa will have to be sharp from the start. But I suspect Villa's quality will come through, because as we've seen this summer, Brentford have lost quality. They've lost Norgard. I don't know whether you saw the actual pronunciation of Norgard this week, but definitely get on the Arsenal.
Is it not what we think it is?
It's an interesting one.
Tell me.
I'm not sure I could even attempt it, but it's something like Christian Nagor or something like that.
Ooh.
Something unusual that you perhaps wouldn't have been saying for the last 5 or 6 years. But they've obviously lost Christian Norgard. They've lost Brian and Bumo, and the manager who was so key in their development as well. So an off season of change for Brentford, and I suspect Villa's quality will come through.
Did notice that Rico Henry slipped back into the team, a player that I like for Brentford last week. I did notice that. Gazoke says, I think we should let McPhee coach the team to even things up. Also, I bumped into Austin McPhee last week. What a lovely, lovely man. Had a good chat with him. Lovely man, Austin McPhee, Dave.
Where am I allowed to ask where you bumped into him?
I can't even remember what the place is called. Genuinely, I cannot remember what the place is called. I got dragged there, and now I've forgotten what the place was called. But it was all worth it to see Big Austin and have a chat with him.
I mean, he's quite easy to spot, isn't he?
Yeah, he stands out.
You could pick him out, yeah.
Yeah, he stands out. Definitely stands out. Right then, let's go then, Dave Reed. You'll be back for next week's preview. Have you got anything coming up on Sky as well? Any more shows with ex-Villa managers?
Not too sure next week, but I will be, Sky Monday to Thursday next week on the Premier League show.
Good stuff. I've got nothing coming up. Need some work absolutely urgently. If you know of anything, even if it's having your guttering cleaned out or something. Actually, I shouldn't say that because Jen will have me up doing our guttering if I say things like that. But yeah, you will not see me on Sky next week, I don't think. Although actually I was on at the weekend after the Newcastle game. I did forget about that. Right then, Dave, let's go. Thank you ever so much for joining me. Thank you to those that have joined us live on YouTube, and thank you to those that will go on and watch as well. Give us a like and a comment with whether you agree with what we've said in this preview. I can already kind of premeditate that the comments won't be kind to us after the mess that was us trying to pick the team earlier on in the show. Thank you very much. We've hit 28,000 subscribers as well. The road to 29,000 starts here. So if you're watching and you're not subscribed, if you could do that, that would be great. If you're listening via Apple or Spotify, 5 stars, reviews, comments, reviews on Apple Podcasts are really, really appreciated. So if you're listening via that and you want to write us a nice review and give us 5 stars, that would be really appreciated. Also, don't forget to check out Match Bingo, and I'm going to try and jump on straight after the game tomorrow and do something, so watch out for that. Again, if you're subscribed, you'll know exactly when that's on, when we go live. So that's it. Have a good rest of your Friday, and to end, it's an Up the Villa from me, and it's an Up the Villa from Dave Reed.